Vegas, it has been a busy week. Elon Musk became the world's first trillionaire. Trump turned 80 and celebrated by watching men fight on his lawn. And the Texas Republican Party held their convention and brought a live elephant along, only for this to happen. Elephant. Well done. Set aside that is basically just a real-life editorial cartoon. That is so much more piss than I thought an elephant could produce. And I want to thank this magnificent creature with a bladder the size of a Subaru for proving me wrong at the best possible time. Meanwhile, the Iran war may have potentially entered its end stages, with Trump claiming all week that a peace deal was imminent, something only slightly undercut by the fact that he previously said that at least 38 times. Also, there are real questions about what the deal might contain or how long it might hold, especially given just how chaotic the week was leading up to it.
Over the past 24 hours, President Trump has gone from threatening strikes to calling off strikes to once again claiming a peace deal is within reach.
I don't know if you heard, but we ended the war with Iran today.
The president says as part of the agreement, the Strait of Hormuz would reopen. But the future of Iran's nuclear program, one of his biggest reasons for starting the war in the first place, would be discussed in the weeks to follow.
So is this just essentially setting the stage for deeper talks on nuclear?
It's a very strong memorandum of understanding that is a little conceptual.
What the fuck are you talking about? It's a strong memorandum of understanding that's a little conceptual. It is not ideal to be talking about something as important as this while sounding like an art history major describing a Rothko while having a stroke. And look, we're taping this on Saturday, so who knows what will have happened by the time that you see this. An outlet associated with Iran's military force denied that Iran would sign an agreement with the United States on Sunday and suggested that Trump was only pushing it so hard because he wanted the deal to coincide with his birthday, which I will say would not be the first time that he exploited Iran for personal reasons, given that he'd previously suggested that ongoing negotiations were the reason that he couldn't attend Don Jr.'s wedding, saying, "It's not good timing for me. I have a thing called Iran," which is just incredible. President Dad missed his son's wedding for a peace deal he didn't get. Isn't breaking Hemingway records for shortest sad story, but it might be the dumbest. And on top of all of this, the World Cup began this week with spectacular opening ceremonies in the three host countries. Mexico went with Shakira and Salma Hayek. Canada had Michael Bublé and Alanis Morissette, while America, for some reason, opted for Katy Perry dressed like a lampshade. Now, with the US as one of the year's hosts, visitors from around the world have been marvelling at what this country has to offer, and it has been fun to see America through their eyes. A Swedish visitor posted, "Why did no one tell me ranch sauce is like crack?" A German named Freddie went viral with posts like this one from outside of Buc-ee's, "Dude, LMAO, this is a gas station." And in Boston, a bunch of Scottish fans found the infamous cop slide and sent a bagpiper down it. But unfortunately, not everyone has been able to enjoy the wonders of America. Fans from more than a quarter of the countries taking part in the World Cup are facing travel bans, tighter restrictions, or high visa rejection rates. And when Trump was asked about that, his answer was pretty telling.
Some people are afraid that it's going to be harder and harder to get visas to come from outside. Can you?
Well, we're working on it very closely to make sure the right people come into our country.
Oh, the right people? I'll be honest, I'm not sure I trust Trump's judgment on who the right people are, any more than I trust his ability to look at a Civil War reenactment and point at the good guys. And it's not just fans. Iraq's star player was held for almost 7 hours to have his phone inspected before being allowed entry. Iran's national team had to relocate their training camp from the US to Mexico in order to resolve potential visa issues. And a referee from Somalia was actually denied entry at Miami airport and forced to fly back home. One reporter actually caught up with the head of the White House task force on the World Cup, Andrew Giuliani, yes relation, and pointed out the obvious pattern here.
Given the people having trouble accessing this tournament and their skin colour...
How so?
Is this shaping up as a racist World Cup?
First off, explain your question, because I think the premise is false.
Swiss striker Breel Embolo, Cameroon-born, he had trouble getting into the country. Iraqi striker Ayman Hussein was detained for 7 hours.
Are in the country?
They're in the country.
They're in the country, exactly.
They were detained.
Don't you think the most important thing about a tournament is making sure that those fans that come to the United States, all those Americans that are going to enjoy this tournament, that they actually are safe and secure? That's what I ultimately think is important. We're going to continue to focus on that.
Was a Somalian referee not allowed into the country because Donald Trump
on this one here, sir.
has a problem with Somalia?
That is pretty damning, although I do kind of love the immediate whiplash of explain your question, your premise is false to, oh, I understand the question now, excuse me, I have to leave. But I guess you would expect nothing less from Andrew Giuliani, not just Rudy's son, but a guy with truly abysmal vibes. He looks like Ron Howard drowned. He looks like he got kicked off Duke's golf team for being too much of a dick, but that's only because he actually did. That is a real thing that happened. That man is exactly who you think he is. Meanwhile, Gianni Infantino, the head of FIFA, and not, as you might have guessed by his name and face, Italy's version of the boss baby, has claimed that the world is welcome in America, very much a citation-needed sort of statement. And when a reporter pressed Infantino this week on the problems that people were encountering, his response was maddening.
Chill, relax. We work on everything. We try to solve everything.
You say people should chill and relax about these situations, but you've got one of the world's top referees told he can't enter the United States, sent back home, accused of having links with suspected terror organisations. Are you embarrassed, therefore, by what actually has come to pass? And do you have to accept that you've lost some control of your own tournament here?
When I say to chill, I don't mean to chill and do nothing. I mean to trust us.
Look, there are times when no worries is a good attitude, like when you're meditating or when your father's been murdered by your uncle, you fled your home and now you're moving in with your friendly gay neighbours. But when Trump is using the World Cup as an excuse to punish specific groups of people, telling everyone to chill won't cut it. And as for trust FIFA, no fucking way! We have done multiple stories on how terrible they are. I can barely think of a less ethical organisation, and I'm very much including companies like Let's Kill Some Wildlife, Give Us Your Blood, It's Fine, We Swear, Boomer Brain Rot featuring Myanmar genocide, and Oops, We Didn't Put the Wings On Right. And it is especially hard to trust FIFA to stand up to Trump, given Infantino has sucked up to him in so many ways. He's actually made more public appearances in the Oval Office during Trump's second term than any world political leader. And he opened an office in Trump Tower in Manhattan, meaning FIFA are paying rent to the Trump family business. Also, FIFA not only moved the World Cup draw away from Las Vegas to the Kennedy Center, remember, they had the gall to present Trump with the inaugural FIFA Peace Prize during it.
Mr. President, this is your prize, this is your Peace Prize. There is also a beautiful medal for you that you can wear everywhere you want to go.
That is so much weirdness in one 12-second clip. First, Infantino saying it's a beautiful medal you can wear everywhere you want to go sounds like he's trying to sell it on the Home Shopping Network. Then there is Trump's excited reaction there. He saw that medal, went, ooh, like a monkey spotting a banana, then yoinked it out of the box like the Hamburglar. He looks like a cartoon cat pulling a fishbone out of a garbage can. And that would be gross enough, but Infantino still wasn't done pandering because he also, and this is true, hired the village people to play YMCA for Trump at that event so that he can dance to his favourite song, which is really a match made in heaven when you think about it, since the village people and Trump both elicit the response, oh, they're still alive, just with slightly different general tones. And in hindsight, that might actually turn out to be the high point of Trump's second term, because since then, his approval ratings have hit new lows. He started a stupid war that he doesn't seem to know how to end, and the very building where that event took place removed his name from the front of it this weekend. You know, at this point, surely even Trump's most ardent supporters must see that letting him back into the White House again was very much like bringing an elephant into a convention centre. It was a terrible idea from the start, and you really don't get to be surprised that it has caused such a gigantic fucking mess. And now, this.
And now... Did you know about the broken urinal at WNEP Scranton?
So Mindy doesn't know this.
No.
Our urinal, one of them, closest to the studio, has been busted now for 2 weeks. There it is, right through 5, 6 o'clock, just total sunshine. Our urinal is broke here at WNEP. John, I just checked. The urinal is still...
Oh, boy. It's still broken?
Yeah, I mean, enough is enough. We're told, I don't know if this is just a rumor, but someone flushed dude wipes down the toilet here. This is now placed on the urinal. I just got it.
What is that? I saw that.
It's a urinal rebuilder kit. Now, is this a hint that like we should do this, or there? It's a urinal
box sitting there.
It's a urinal rebuilder kit. John, did you see the good news in the lavatory yet?
Oh, it was exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard about it.
The urinal's back.
I saw them there working on it yesterday. I told them thanks.
I don't know if you noticed, folks. I lost about 5 pounds walking to the other side of the building urinal over the last week. Check it out, the one close to the weather office. John, finally, I think it's been fixed, right? We're back in business, big guy.
It is open once again.
Yeah, no distance walking.
Okay.
See ya.
All right. Well, topping our news this morning, a man is dead after a house fire in Wayne County.
Moving on. Before we get to our main story tonight, I want to talk to you about an area in the UK called Makerfield. It's between Manchester and Liverpool, and it contains, among other things, parts of Wigan, the town where charmingly Wallace and Gromit live, and which was slightly less charmingly once portrayed by George Orwell as a sinkhole of misery. 2 fun facts that I frankly can't believe Aardman animators haven't already combined into a single movie. And to be fair, George Orwell's not the only one with a low opinion of Wigan. Just watch as this guy pays the town a visit and interviews some local kids.
What's the best thing about Wigan?
Shit.
It's shit?
Yeah. Only good thing is Galloway's pies.
But why does everyone say Galloway's pies?
It's better.
Bolton or Wigan?
Bolton.
Really?
Yeah, I'd choose Bolton over Wigan. It's just a shithole. Well, they're both shitholes at the end of the day.
Fantastic. I think my favourite part of that is, why does everyone say Galloway's pies, being answered with, because it's better. Better than what exactly? Although, to be fair, based on those kids' attitude, I'm guessing the answer was better than any other parts of my day in this godforsaken shithole town. And look, as nice as Galloway's pies sounds, I should tell you, one of Wigan's signature local dishes is actually something called a babby's yet, a suet pudding that can be served floating, or a floating in gravy, or pay wet, served with, and I quote, the sort of discharge that comes off of mushy peas. Which sounds less like a recipe and more like an episode of Chopped, where the only ingredients were items found in the dumpster. Just listen to this man explain the dish even further.
When you tip it out, it's supposed to look like a baby's head. The hat is obviously this. So when they ask for the baby's head with hat on, or baby's head with the hat on, it's to keep it warm. I don't like all the gravy and the peas and everything, and curry or whatever, mushed in. I like the chips to be dry and I'll squash it down like that. And I'll mix it in with the chips.
OK, just for the record, I also find that disgusting. In fact, I genuinely might prefer watching that man eat an actual baby's head. Now, the reason I'm talking about this relatively small area in northern England is, for complicated reasons, next week, it may end up deciding the next Prime Minister of the UK and changing the course of British history. And if you're thinking, wait, hold on, didn't Britain just elect a new Prime Minister? Yeah, it did. Just 2 years ago, Keir Starmer and the Labour Party swept into power, breaking the Conservative Party's stronghold on government that had lasted for 14 years. And Starmer's slogan back then really was change, which does make sense, as he looks like a man who saw Obama's Hope and Change campaign and said, hope? Yeah, come on, let's not go crazy. Let's just go with change and put it in the smallest font imaginable. Back then, Starmer was riding high, but things have not gone well.
He's been in office less than 2 years, but failed to kickstart Britain's sluggish economy. He also made the disastrous decision to appoint Peter Mandelson as the UK's ambassador to Washington. Mandelson was known to be a longtime friend of Jeffrey Epstein. The scandal has badly weakened Starmer, who's faced ridicule from President Trump.
This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with.
Yeah, he's not Winston Churchill. That is a pretty savage burn coming from a man who himself is very much not FDR, apart from, of course, his penchant for hiding his medical conditions. The point is, voters in Britain have turned on Starmer hard, which came to a head last month during local elections around the country, and Labour got absolutely clobbered, losing more than 1,400 representatives from English councils. And it's not just that people feel Starmer hasn't delivered change. They seem to personally loathe him.
What are your thoughts on Keir Starmer?
Can I swear?
You can be as honest as you like.
He's a prick.
I mean, that is perfect. The only way that could have been better is if she then said, actually, can I take a minute to think of a meaner one? I want to really hurt his feelings. Oh, hold on, can I say cunt on the news? I'm pretty sure I can, right? But incredibly, Starmer has been digging in. In fact, just listen to him last month, right after his party got shellacked in those elections.
Did you contemplate this morning that the responsibility is that it's time for you to go and to resign?
Let me be clear, these are really tough results. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Did you contemplate that the problem might be you, that you might need to go to help Labour win these seats back? Did you even contemplate it? Do you acknowledge it as a conversation even?
Look, I think it's absolutely clear that the electorate are fed up with the fact that their lives aren't changing quickly enough.
Wow, it is brutal how that reporter just kept rephrasing that same question. Did you contemplate it was your fault? Did you even acknowledge it? Did you write a list of possible problems on a whiteboard and include as one of them yourself? Have you ever looked into the mirror and questioned whether you, Keir Starmer, are the root cause of all the problems in the country right now? And if not, why not? Suffice to say, Starmer and the Labour Party are in big trouble. But they still have a chance to change course here, because remember, the UK system is different from the US's. Over there, the ruling party can actually swap out its leader without having to call a general election. That is why, while Americans are typically stuck with our choice for 4 years, barring a truly hilarious manhole accident, in the UK, Prime Ministers have a more transient quality. It's one of the reasons why there's been 4 of them in the past 4 years, including one who famously didn't even outlast a head of lettuce. And many in Labour think their best option is to replace Starmer with this man, Andy Burnham, the popular mayor of Greater Manchester. The thing is, to be Prime Minister, you have to be a sitting member of Parliament, but Burnham isn't. All of which brings us back to Makerfield, because to make a path for Burnham, the Labour MP for Makerfield recently resigned specifically to allow Burnham to run in a by-election there, the British equivalent of a special election, this coming Thursday. And if Burnham wins, he's already confirmed he'll challenge Starmer to become Prime Minister. But if he loses, the Labour Party is pretty much fucked. And as you're about to see, some of the parties waiting to take over are just incredibly grim. The point here is roughly 76,000 registered voters in Makerfield. That is less than the capacity of Giant Stadium, and about 1/6 of 1% of Britain's voting population currently hold the future of the country in their hands. So given all of that, tonight let's talk about the Makerfield by-election, how Labour got to this point, which parties are nipping at their heels, and who some of the candidates in it are, because the whole thing is just fucking bonkers. And let's start with how Starmer's support collapsed so quickly. And to be fair, some of that was outside his control. The UK's economy has been struggling for the past 2 decades for all sorts of reasons, from Brexit to the pandemic to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. People are really struggling there, with one poll showing almost 6 in 10 Britons saying they felt the cost of living crisis would never end. That would be a huge challenge for even a savvy politician, which Starmer very much is not. His solutions, like cutting fuel payments for the elderly, have caused huge blowback and for minimal gain, to the point where this is how one group of analysts describe him.
I remember, I was looking back at what he said at the time. His plan was to make good decisions. That's not a plan. Particularly if you're not good at decision-making, which turns out he also wasn't very good at.
Talk about his judgment of people. Is he good with people?
No.
Does he work well with cabinet ministers?
They regard him with near open contempt.
Holy shit, that is so brutally cold. I almost wish they kept going there. What about animals? How is he with animals? Birds frequently try to fly into his face and dogs show him even less respect. And what of children? He held a baby in a speech once and the baby called him a risless wanker. Anything else you'd like to add at this point? Sure, automatic doors refuse to open for him and plants exposed to his picture are 70% less likely to yield flowers. And amazingly, the public is even less enthusiastic about Starmer, with recent focus groups' descriptions of him including a jellyfish and a doormat. And one big reason for that is, for a man who's already pretty much a centrist, he has relentlessly pandered to the right on everything from trans rights to immigration to the pro-Palestine movement. On that last front, his government now classified a civil disobedience group called Palestine Action as a terrorist organisation, banning it, which has made belonging to it or inviting support for it a serious crime punishable by up to 14 years in prison. Now, in the wake of that decision, priests, teachers and pensioners are among hundreds of people who've been arrested merely for holding up signs in support of the organisation, resulting in these crazy images of elderly protesters getting carried away by police. Those are some bad visuals for any leader, let alone one who literally used to be a human rights lawyer. It is frankly no wonder many progressive Labour supporters have since been drawn to the UK's Green Party, including this one.
Looking at the parties, who do you like the look of at the moment?
I think definitely Greens these days, or Independent, probably.
You say these days?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, would that have been the case?
No, I was a big fan of Labour.
So what's changed in the last few years?
There's been a lot of things that have been sliding to the right and betraying a lot of like working class voters and people of colour, also refugees and basically minorities, even like trans healthcare and LGBT rights and all this stuff.
That's quite a long list.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, it is a pretty long list, isn't it? It kind of seems like someone asked Starmer, who do you want to throw under the bus? And he just said, yes. So Starmer has clearly disappointed many on the left. And normally, the challenge to his right would have come from Labour's traditional opposition, the Conservatives. But they, too, saw major losses in last month's elections. And the party that's increasingly taken their place is the further-right Reform UK. It won nearly 1,500 council races, which is clearly great news for its leader, Nigel Farage. Biblically accurate frog prince and professional arsehole. Now, we've talked about Farage before. He's the provocative bigot who spearheaded the campaign for Brexit and has on multiple occasions had milkshakes thrown at him. Here he is, right after one of those incidents, looking like he's modelling a suit from Joseph A. Banks' Bukkake collection. Farage built the Reform Party around his usual right-wing talking points, which are heavy on the xenophobia, as you can kind of see through videos like this.
You ask yourself why public services have diminished. You ask yourself why rents have gone through the roof. The population explosion has done that. And then you look at parts of London, for example, where the road names, the underground signs, aren't just in English, they're in a foreign language as well. 1 million people living in this country don't speak any English at all.
OK, first, and I think you probably already know this, that 1 million figure is just bullshit. As of the most recent census, only around 160,000 people in England and Wales said that they couldn't speak any English. But also, a British man complaining foreigners showed up and now this road sign isn't in the language I speak is fucking bold, given, you know, history. I'm just saying, the largest lake in Africa wasn't always called Lake Victoria. That only started when some pasty white dude showed up and decided to name it after his national mommy. And as much as I'm sure everyone liked imagining her drowning in there, it is probably time to rename it. Now, nonetheless, bigotry and grievance have propelled the Reform Party forward, despite Farage's own significant baggage, from his long history of licensed sexism to more recent questions about how a £5 million gift that he received from a crypto billionaire shortly before announcing that he'd run in the 2024 general election. When asked about that, his response wasn't exactly great.
This was given to me on an unconditional basis, completely unconditional basis, but frankly, it was given as a reward for campaigning for Brexit for 27 years.
And it had no impact on your decision to come back into public life?
No.
But he who pays the piper picks the tune.
Hang on a second. I can't be bought by anybody.
Well, Farage makes some sharp turns there, going from this was an unconditional gift to I was paid as a reward for a specific action to I can't be bought by anybody. Honestly, if you let him talk for long enough there, I'm pretty sure he'd get himself to, but you know what, I can be rented out on an interim basis. But despite all of that, Reform's anti-immigrant messaging has clearly found an audience. Just watch this video of a local Reform candidate from earlier this year denying charges of racism before then talking to a supporter who slightly undercuts her argument.
I think the thing I hear more than anything else is a fascist and Nazi, which is the furthest than what we are. We're just not that at all.
Yeah.
None of us are racist.
No, I'm not.
But they tell you that if you say something about it. But that's
I
their,
tell you
that's
what,
their
to be
own-
honest, I've never been racist.
No.
But I'm getting that way.
Whoa! Whoa! I've never been racist, but I'm getting that way. Well, guess what? If you're considering it, you're actually already there. It's not like getting bangs. You don't have to wait for the racism to grow in. You did it. The journey is the destination. Now, Reform will claim that they've distanced themselves from rhetoric like that. Farage has boasted that they've professionalised the party, but it is worth knowing that the candidates it ran last month included Brett Muscroft, who reportedly posted on Facebook, "Islam is like cancer. If you don't remove it on time, it will kill you." And Andrew Mahon, who posted, "No disrespect, but why can black people use the N-word, but white people cannot?" demonstrating the exact level of delusion that would make someone comfortable leaving the house in this selection of outfits. And honestly, if his argument is that he can't see colour, he's making a pretty good case for it there. And when one of Reform's leaders went on the news right after their election wins last month, he got this awkward question about yet another of their shitty candidates.
One of your new Sunderland councillors, so a man who was elected to represent Reform, suggested melting Nigerians to fill potholes. Is that person who's expressed those views somebody you are happy
Laura,
to see represent Reform?
This weekend, we are celebrating our incredible successes. Like any party, you have internal party processes to look at where people have said or done the wrong thing.
Do you condemn those remarks?
Laura, I condemn anything that is wrong and inappropriate.
Which that is! Jesus Christ, I don't know what is worse there. His failure to directly condemn someone for suggesting melting Nigerians to fill potholes, or that he seems genuinely annoyed that he's being asked about it. Because if you cannot denounce that, you should really expect to be asked about it for the rest of your life. In fact, even after your life, at your funeral, someone should politely knock on your coffin to say, "Sorry you died, but last chance, any final comment on that pothole racist?" And it actually gets worse, because incredibly, Reform itself is now being challenged on its rights by an even newer party called Restore Britain. It enjoys the support of fascists, neo-Nazis and other extremists, with Elon Musk even tweeting, "Only Restore Britain can save Britain." And the fact that Restore is gaining support should be pretty alarming given just how poisonous its policies are. Here is their leader, Rupert Lowe, giving you just a taste.
We will celebrate our Christian heritage and the identity that built and shaped this country. Responsibility, restraint, forgiveness, duty and fairness. In short, a high-trust society. That will mean defending our culture. That will mean resisting the relentless creep of radical Islam. That will mean banning the burqa, outlawing Sharia law, blocking cousin marriages, and reimposing our Christian-based rule of law. A Restore Britain government would legislate to ensure that no halal or kosher slaughter on British soil. This is Britain, and we will do things our way.
Oh, fucking spare me, Rupert. And while it is clearly not the most important thing there, for the record, the culture, heritage and identity that shaped Britain was literally built on cousin marriages. It's been a pretty crucial part of the whole process. You might want to brush up on your history, given that your general vibe there is so cartoonishly English. You look like your first words as a baby were British East India Company. The point is, with Reform on the rise and Restore pulling it even further to the right, Britain risks heading in a very dark direction, and at least in the immediate future, the only party positioned to stop that slide is the one currently in power, Labour. Which brings us back to Andy Burnham. He's actually been a contender to lead the Labour Party for years now. He used to be an MP and even served as Health Secretary for a year. But after 2 failed attempts to become leader, he became Mayor of Greater Manchester, where he made national news standing up to Boris Johnson's government over its failures to provide enough assistance during the COVID lockdowns.
It is wrong to place some of the poorest parts of England in a punishing lockdown without proper support for the people and businesses affected. This is an important moment. Greater Manchester will stand firm. We are fighting back for fairness and for the health of our people in the broadest sense.
Yeah, it's moments like that that helped Burnham become known as the King of the North. In fact, he is currently ranked as Britain's most popular politician with an average popularity rating of 35%, which I know doesn't sound like much. But you do have to remember the British mind can only hold 35% happiness at a maximum. Winning the World Cup can push us up to 40%, but that has only happened once, unless, I guess, they win it again this summer. So we'll just have to wait and see exactly how they don't. And on its face, Burnham winning in Makerfield really shouldn't be difficult, given it's been a safe Labour seat for more than 120 years. But the truth is, voters there have become less predictable in recent years. During Brexit, nearly two-thirds voted to leave the EU, and in last month's local elections, Reform won every ward there. What is more, Burnham doesn't technically live in the constituency. And while some residents may find his ambitions for higher office appealing, others are, understandably, a bit resentful at having him swan in and use them as a springboard to get there.
You're going to be voting for someone who's not going to be here, who's got bigger issues than Ashley Makefield, really, so it won't be his priority.
We're not here to enable him to pursue his personal ambitions.
I'm sure Andy Burnham is only using us as a stepping stone anyway. He don't care about Makerfield. He's not local. And he just wants to get into number 10.
My mum is right. I don't love that she's going around giving interviews about Andy Burnham with my dad, but that's a conversation that we can have at Christmas. Now, to counter that outsider narrative, Burnham's tried to point out his local bona fides, like the fact that his children went to school in the area and that he has loads of connections there. He even recently claimed that his favourite Wigan delicacy is, you've guessed it, Babby's Yed. But Reform seems to think that it can exploit the perception that he's an ambitious outsider because their candidate, Robert Kenyon, has gone out of his way to remind people that he is very much a local.
I was born in Makerfield. If I was elected, I'd be the first person born in the constituency to become the MP. I don't think any MP that's ever stood in Makerfield was actually born in the area. I'm a plumber, gas engineer. I don't know, it gets me a bit emotional sometimes thinking that there's a chance that I could be representing people in Parliament because it's a massive honour. And people will be thinking, hang on a minute, he serviced my boiler last week.
Yeah. It's pretty striking, isn't it? When your opponent is being accused of being out of touch with the community, it's a pretty good counter to be able to say, I have literally been elbow deep in this entire community's shit. The point is, Kenyon is a salt-of-the-earth guy, a straight shooter, a regular Joe. He's not a career politician. And if you have the pattern recognition of a pigeon, you can probably tell what I'm about to say next, which is that his online history is a fucking mess. A lot of his posts have resurfaced, including one that says, I'm sexist, sorry, but I am, and another saying English women just walk around with their fat bellies and odd shapes, pushing a pram at 16 in their PJs. One post actually caused that same reporter you saw earlier to physically chase him down the streets to answer for it.
Why should women in Makerfield vote for you, Rob?
If you speak to the press office...
Why should women in Makerfield vote for you, Rob, when you said you're a sexist?
Can you not...
No, but why should women vote for you?
Oh, sorry, thank you.
When you said that you were a sexist and that they can't drive?
It's true. Kenyon once said that women can't drive, so it might be more accurate to say that people in Makerfield will be thinking, hang on a minute, that guy did fix my boiler last week, but he then randomly told my wife that her natural place is in the kitchen. But amazingly, it gets even worse, because Kenyon also made a controversial post about a beloved figure in British broadcasting named Carol Vorderman. Very basically, for decades, she was the co-host of a popular afternoon game show called Countdown, and she became a national treasure. And knowing that, you can hopefully now understand the visual impact of what I'm about to show you.
So on Christmas Eve, you spotted a message sent to Carol Vorderman on her birthday, which said, "Happy birthday, Carol. Oh my God, I would love to smell and lick your arsehole." Now, you responded to that.
I responded to a separate tweet.
You responded to a separate tweet. So go on, clarify.
So somebody had written that, somebody else had commented on that, and then I responded to the comment on that.
So which comment were you responding to? Were you responding to the one about the arsehole?
I mean, if you're even being asked that question, you are in serious trouble. And while he is trying to make it confusing there, it's actually pretty simple. Basically, someone on Twitter posted on Carol Vorderman's birthday, "Happy birthday, Carol. My God, I'd love to smell and lick your arsehole." Someone else replied, criticising it, saying, "If you're prepared to post this on a public forum, I would suggest your computer drive probably needs checking," only for Kenyon to respond, "He's only saying what we're all thinking. Cry laughing emoji, thumbs up emoji." So Kenyon's defence of that post was essentially, hey, I'm not the one who brought it up. But that's not remotely exculpatory, is it? It's like if someone tweeted, "Hey, Bronx Zoo, you should let visitors jerk off the lemurs," and I replied with, "Facts, thumbs up emoji." Sure, I might not technically have brought it up first, but I did not cover myself in glory there. And to be clear, Kenyon still hasn't apologised for those comments, continuing to defend himself, claiming that he's just an ordinary person who's rough around the edges. Now, for the record, rough around the edges means that you don't know what a crab fork is. Not that you think it's OK to participate in internet discourse about a public woman's birthday, arsehole. The point is, this is the candidate with vehemently sexist and rim-job positive views who could theoretically take down Labour's best hope of retaining control of the government past the next election. And it is really hard not to feel for the voters of Makerfield here, who've been at the centre of an absolute circus over the last month and who have plenty of local issues that do need addressing, from affordable housing to flooding concerns to this massive illegal waste dump that Makefield's previous MP, the very guy, in fact, who stepped down to let Burnham run, had actually been working to finally get cleaned up.
It's a grotesque dump that Sky News has investigated over the past year.
It was March, almost 3 months ago, when it was announced that the funding was in place to clear this up, but it still hasn't happened. Which of the candidates in this by-election do you think would follow through on that and make sure it is cleaned up?
I would say that the candidates are just frontmen, really. It's not just about us anymore, it's about, I think, the future of politics in the country. It feels a bit more, a bit overwhelming, really, that we could be pivotal in this, and I just really hope that people make the right choice.
Yeah, so do I. And if there are two things that you don't want someone to be overwhelmed by at the same time, it's responsibility for deciding England's political future and odours from a massive illegal waste dump. So what happens next here? Well, someone is clearly going to win this Thursday's election. And while current polls suggest Labour has a lead, that may be partly because Restore, the ultra-far-right party that, remember, is going to save Britain from kosher butchery, is siphoning off votes from Reform. And even if Burnham does win and is then able to unseat Starmer, he'll still face the same dismal economy and the same furious voters, with only 3 years to figure out how to deliver the change that Starmer couldn't before facing elections in 2029. But if Burnham loses, it is going to be a fucking mess. I mean, a Babby's Yed spread on a pile of chips mess, and I don't say that lightly. A Burnham loss would be a huge success for Farage's Reform Party and a humiliation for Labour so devastating they may never recover. And at that point, with Britain's two long-dominant parties further crushed, there is a genuine chance that in a few years we could see Money Shot McFlurry here elected as Prime Minister. Look, when we last covered an election in the UK, we talked about how it could be an extinction-level event for the Conservative Party. And it kind of was. But it is frankly incredible that just 2 years later, Labour has fucked up so badly and has thrown its own voters under the bus so consistently, they now face the same threat. Because, and I'm sure this is a lesson with no applicability to US politics, you can't promise change only to turn around and capitulate to the right on key principles that you are supposed to stand for. Because not only will you lose people to your left, the right will just keep moving the goalposts again and again, and you'll only have yourself to blame. And if Labour loses this by-election, and what ultimately comes out of it is Prime Minister Farage, that is going to be hard to swallow. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that it will be the hardest thing to swallow to come out of the Makerfield area. Aside from, of course, the Babbies Yet. We all knew that it was going to end like this. That is our show. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Good night. away stroke home.